Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. Thank you for being part of a better America. This country is at a crossroads, and we are fighting for renewing a sense of character and the conscience of this country. And what we heard last week from our 38-year incumbent takes us backwards. He doesn't represent our values in 2018. Chris Smith doesn't represent our virtues, the conscience of America today. He takes us backwards, and he invokes hate and fear, not only in voters and citizens in Jersey District 4, but also into the hearts and minds of children in high schools. In late May, we know that Chris Smith went to Colts Neck High School, and we know that his true colors came out. His true colors came out, that he does not believe in equality and justice for everyone in this country. And it's time for change. Now, this rally, this convening, is to shed light, to shine a bright light on how backwards Chris is for our values, our children's futures, and our grandchildren's futures. I'm so honored to introduce Hannah Valdes. Hannah, where are you? Come on up here. Hannah is a senior at Colts Neck High School. Hands together for Hannah. Absolute superstar. Her sister Heather couldn't be with us today. Her brother Zak's here, so thank you, Zak. He's out there.
Hello.
And I got to know, I guess it was at Veterans Day in November of last year, and I met your family, and we broke bread, and I was so impressed with your courage then to represent what it means to be an American, what it means to be inclusive. And then little did I think that about a year later we'd be standing here to address something much bigger than ourselves. So thank you for being here, thank you for standing up, thank you for shining a light on Chris Smith's backwardsness, and shining a light on what we should be doing as Americans. So if you could, please share your story with us. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Hi. In May, when I asked Rep. Smith my question, I never thought that it would turn to something this big. On May 29th, at Colts Neck High School, the auditorium was full of students, juniors, seniors, and sophomores, ready to ask Smith questions on the congressional system. That assembly quickly took on a different face when Smith began to talk about his homophobic views. In response to another student's question, he discussed how numerous household studies show that heterosexual parents give their kids a better life than homosexual parents. Immediately, I thought of my sister Heather, and I thought about how she's talked about wanting to adopt a child one day. At that point, I knew I could not sit there in silence. I knew I had to say something, for myself, for my sister, and for all of the LGBT members in our community. In response to hearing Rep. Smith's homophobic opinions, I told him that I have a gay sister, and I asked him why he thinks, based on household studies, my sister would be less of a legitimate parent, and why she shouldn't be able to adopt children. He didn't really have an answer for me, but when I pressed him further, he went on to say that orphanages are still an option for some kids. Smith could not find a valid answer to my question, because he does not have a good reason for his anti-gay views. As the youngest of 6 kids, I know just how important it is to have loving, supporting parents in a happy household. I have been blessed to have wonderful parents, but I know that not every child is given this gift. To think that kids would be better off in orphanages than with parents is obscene. Parents, straight or gay, that look to adopt children want to have that child, and they want to give them a loving family. Smith's prejudice and homophobic views were offensive, and the entire student body at Colts Neck was appalled that someone had come to our school with these opinions. Prejudice in our hallways is not tolerated, so it was shocking to have an elected official, a congressman nonetheless, come to our school and openly shame the LGBT community. I knew that there were multiple students in that auditorium that were a part of the LGBT community, and that they were simply too scared to say anything. I knew that I couldn't stay silent. I knew I had to speak up for them. However, since this story has gotten media attention, Rep. Smith has been completely silent. This story has turned into a national discussion of equality. This fight of equality for all is far from over. I will not back down to Rep. Smith, and I intend to stand my ground until he can explain his actions. I want to know why he thought it was acceptable to speak to students in this manner. I want to know why he thinks orphanages are a possibility for some kids. I want him to explain to America why he thinks that homosexual parents are lesser parents than heterosexual parents. And most importantly, I want an answer to my question, for my family and for my sister. Why would my gay sister be a lesser parent? Thank you.
In this journey in running for Congress, I think the most important role of a leader is to listen and to shine a light and provide a platform for us to empower others, to hear their stories of sacrifice and struggle, and to give them the best opportunities for a better future. In doing so, we wanted to invite Keith Hyman here. Keith Hyman is a leader in New Jersey in gay rights activism. He's one of the first gay couples in the state of New Jersey to adopt. His husband couldn't be with us here, Tom and Marie and Grace, who are his daughters. Where is Keith? Keith, come on up here. So, we are honored to have Keith with us here today to hear his story of struggle, his story of perseverance, and his story of making New Jersey more equal for everyone. Thank you.
My name is Keith Hyman, and I have a confession. Before the horrors of the November 2016 election, I did not even know the name of my representative to the United States Congress. I know. Now, I assumed that our district was represented by a conscientious, hard-working public servant who spent a great deal of time in the district. I was wrong. In addition to his physical absence, our current representative has a deplorable voting record. According to 538.com, Chris Smith has voted in lockstep with Donald Trump more than 80% of the time. Now, all that was bad enough, but then things got personal. Last week, we heard the comments. My husband Tom and I, my husband of 30 years, that's 81 in straight years. I have a conversion app if you need it. God has blessed us with two wonderful children, and they are now 18 and 15. We adopted our first child in 2000 and our second in 2003. She's hiding behind. The same year that we adopted our first daughter in 2000, Chris Smith voted to support legislation that would outlaw gay adoption in this country. It gets worse. Recently, he was asked again about that particular legislation. And he was asked that if he had a chance to revisit that vote, how would he vote? And he said he would not change his mind. He said that today, 2 decades later, he would still vote to outlaw adoption by gay parents. And he followed that shocking comment with the quote, "Orphanages are still a possibility." No, sir, Representative Smith. Orphanages are not a possibility. And you want to know what else is not a possibility? There is no possibility that he will be reelected this November. And you want to know why he will not be reelected?
Yes.
Not because we're all going to storm into the voting booth and vote an angry no against him. That's not the reason. We have a much better reason. We have a wonderful new candidate. We have a candidate who is ready, willing, and able to do all of the things that Chris Smith will not or cannot do. We have a candidate who understands that the United States Constitution applies to all of us equally. a candidate who has a distinguished military career, and a candidate who lives and works here in our district. So this November, we will replace a failed, out-of-touch, absentee, career politician who is nothing more than a rubber stamp for Donald Trump with our new representative, Josh Welling.
Wow, thank you so much. We got a job to do in November. We got work to do. And the work we got to do is about this community. It's about talking to our neighbors. And as I said, it's awakening people in this district to new leadership and to a better future. Now, if you heard for the first time that Chris Smith is backwards on gay rights, on equality and justice, for the first time, most of us knew it. Most of us here today, we knew it. We knew that in 1973, he was writing articles about marriage and his view to be between a man and a woman, and he was going to legislate love in this country. And we have moved beyond that. We knew that Chris Smith repeatedly has said that gay people in this country should not be able to be parents. And that's unacceptable in 2018. We know that he voted against the Violence Against Women Act in this country because it included provisions for safety and security for gay couples. And he is on a crusade against justice and equality. And we know that in 2015, he said that gay rights are not human rights. And we are not going to take it anymore. So if you're watching here today, if you're one of the awoken members of our community, let's get to work. If you want to protect your children in 2018 and your grandchildren, let's get to work. Now, not only is Chris Smith backwards on inclusion and backwards on equality, but he is dangerous for women in this country. He is part of the Right to Life movement that is scary for young women in this country who want to have reproductive freedom, who want to make their own health care decisions. This decision, this leadership we need at a time when Kavanaugh is on the cusp of becoming a Supreme Court justice, a person who is an extremist on women's rights, at a time when Chris Smith has stayed in office for 19 terms and undermined equality for women and reproductive freedom. We need leaders to step up. My wife Angela and I talk repeatedly about equal pay, equal justice, and equality for men and women of people of all communities of color and gender, and Chris Smith is silent. So not only is he bad on inclusion, not only is he bad on women's rights, but he's bad on leadership. And what we need with this president at this moment is accountability and leadership for America. We have veterans running for office around this nation for love of Constitution and not for political party. For love of a Constitution that assures equal protection, civil liberties, civil rights, and the preservation of justice, no matter your political leanings. This is a time for a new generation to step up. This is a time for all of us to check our moral compass, to talk to our neighbors about the future we want for this country, and to elect a generation of leaders that will unite us. Now, I was born in Trenton, I was raised in Wall Township, and I was able to go to the Naval Academy and serve for over 12 years in uniform. And that service was about getting the best out of people, no matter what they looked like, no matter what their zip code was. Some of my friends from Colorado and Texas and Florida, we had different backgrounds, we had different views of the world, but it was all about preserving the institutions that we value. Some of those friends didn't come home. Some of those friends came home without limbs or broken on the inside. And that service to nation was not about the American flag. It was about what the flag stood for.
Amen.
So So for all my friends that didn't come home, to all my friends that sacrificed their youth, ages 18 to 38, who still serve in harm's way today, let's move America forward. Let's ensure equal rights and equality and justice and equal protection for everyone, no matter who they love, no matter what they look like, no matter where they're from. Let's elect leaders in 2018 that represent our values, that protect our children, that go to high schools in cold step and don't send kids home crying. This election is bigger than all of us. We have a little over 40 days to work, to energize, to mobilize, to invest everything we have to right the ship. Let's vote Chris Smith out. Let's hold President Trump accountable. And let's make this country the best it can be and the future we want for everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.